Our call to worship comes to us from Reverend Vanessa Southern. So much undone, so much to do, so much to heal in us and in the world. So much to acquire: a meal, a healthy body, a fit one, a lover, a job, a better job. Proof we have and are enough just around the corner now. And up against it, the reality of all that falls short and the limits of today. Here we honor limits. If your body won't do what it is used to for right now, let that be enough. If your mind won't stop racing, or you can't think of the word, let it be enough. If you are here utterly alone and in despair, be all that here with us. If today you cannot sing because your throat hurts or you don't have the heart for music, be silent. When the offering plate goes around, if you don't have money to give or the heart to give, let it pass. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. All hope won't be lost. You are part of the plan for this world's salvation. Of that, I have no doubt. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash fear from the beachheads and cleanse all the wounds so that they can heal. But oceans are big, and I am sure there are parts that don't feel up to the task of the whole some days. Rest if you must. Then, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air, rest in pews made to hold weary lives in space carved out for the doing of nothing much but being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones, in your weary heart, the aching, healing sense that this is enough. Even this, that we are enough. You are enough. Enough. It is good we come together to raise up that which is worthy. As Judy comes forward to light the chalice, let us speak these words together. They'll be up there on the screen. We kindle this flame to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment.
Good morning. I wish you could see what I'm seeing here. It's just a wonderful full house filled with, I know there's smiles behind these. Welcome to each of you here in the sanctuary, and to those of you watching from home. Welcome to worship at the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington this Sunday, January 28th, 2024. I'm Judy Brooke, a member of the Worship Associate Team, and I use the pronouns she and her, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. We are a Unitarian Universalist faith community rooted in the heart of Burlington, Vermont, near the shores of Lake Champlain. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, genders. We're all growing and learning and loved. You're welcome, just as you are. We hope you experience connection and compassion and a feeling of coming home. This religious society is guided not by a creed, but by our commitment to each other and to shared values that include justice, equity, pluralism, and generosity. Love is at the center of it all. As we work to embody those values, we acknowledge that our meeting house and our homes and our schools and where we work are built on the traditional lands of the Western Abenaki people who live here still. We strive to be good stewards of this land and waters and to care for this place that we call home. With the current rise in COVID cases in our congregation and wider community, we are requesting that everyone mask while in the meeting house. Masking is one of the ways that we show that we care for each other, particularly the most vulnerable amongst us. If you like to follow along with an order of service, you can scan the QR code in the front of the gray hymnal, or you can visit our website, uusociety.org, and click the green button that says Live Stream Service. There you'll find the order of service as well as a button labeled New to Our Community. If you are new to our community and you feel comfortable, would you be willing to raise your hand for a special welcome? Oh, welcome. We have designated welcome ambassadors, as well as every single one of us here, who are available to answer any questions you might have about worship service, our society, or Unitarian Universalism. Our welcome ambassadors today are Carolyn and Richard Smileys and Betsy Thayer. Would you please stand? There we are. Thank you. If you'd like us to connect with you, you can fill out that card in the pew. Got one right here. That one there. And drop it in the offering plate or hand it to one of the welcome ambassadors, and someone will be in touch with you. A heartfelt thanks to all the people whose work has made this service possible. Their names appear at the end of the service and will be projected at the end of the service. Everyone is invited to join the coffee hour downstairs in the community room after the service, which you can reach by stairs or the elevator through this door. It's a great time and place to meet new friends or old ones, learn more about the many things going on here at First UU. A reminder that at 10:30 today, right here, there's an opportunity to meet with the board and Reverend Karen for a mid-year checkup and discussion. Are gray days getting you down? Are you suffering from midwinter blahs? The UU Midwinter Retreat is a cure. Saturday, February 10th, 9 to 11:45, all ages are welcome. Come build community and experience new activities offered by various congregants. It's going to be fun, I guarantee it. More information and to register, see the link in this week's e-news or speak to Valerie Wood-Lewis. Come, let's all banish the midwinter blahs. Amen. Amen. Friends, whatever it took for you to get here, wherever you've come from, wherever you are, home or here, whatever burdens or joys or gratitudes you're carrying, you belong. Your whole self is welcome here. Come, let us worship together.
I'd love to invite the children to come forward over here. I have something I'd like to teach everyone. And I know the board is really looking forward to meeting with everyone at 11:30. They're not going to interrupt the service. It's not ready. Just so you know. Thank you for coming forward. I really appreciate it. So this is something that maybe you know. Microphone? Still not on? Thank you. Well, that was good that it wasn't on. Here we go. Yeah? Okay, we could turn it down just a little bit though, right? Okay. Thank you. So maybe you know this, but Erica thought maybe you didn't. And whether you know it or not, that's okay. So I have some gestures. It's kind of an embodied prayer. And I would love it if you try it with me. Can you make your hand make a U? And can you make your other hand make another U? We are Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. Together, we care for the earth, work for friendship, and peace in the world. Can we try that again? Everybody? I don't know how it's doing up there. Yeah, you've got the words. Okay, we are Unitarian Universalists. With minds that think, hearts that love, hands that are ready to serve. Together, we care for the earth, we work for friendship, and for peace in the world. Thank you. So there's actually 3 parts of that, like the middle part that I really am hoping that we're going to focus on, because you have a job in just a little bit. And that's the minds that think, hearts that love, hands that serve, okay? Because I'm going to ask you to do a blessing of our new members, people who have newly joined the congregation. And I think, who better to bless them than you all, because you all are so powerful. And we have homegrown holy water that we gathered together, and all of you blessed last September that's here that you will be able to put on if they want. Each member gets to decide on their hands or maybe on their forehead. And I've heard that the undercover kindness agents have made gifts for the new members too. So, as I ask Kim Watkins, who is part of the membership team, to come forward, I want to say that there's something strange that happens when we invite and when we receive and when we experience new members. Before any new member signed a book, we were whole as we were. And then something mystical, magical, and paradoxical happens. We become more whole each time someone new joins this spiritual community. Now, because I am superstitious in a very limited way, I'm going to ask you to knock on wood. When I first joined my first Unitarian Universalist community, my minister said to me, this is the difference between being a friend, which is awesome, and being a member. Both friends and members, should the church burn down, you can see why we're knocking on wood, right? Both will show up and watch at a safe distance and witness the tragedy. And it is the members who in the morning will gather in each other's homes and at coffee shops to plan for a new day. Kim.
Hello, I'm Kim Watkin, and I'm part of the membership team, and I'd like to introduce you to the other members of the membership team. So if they're here today, do you mind standing up so we can recognize you? Sarah Russell, Susan Warner-Mills, Marilyn Brill, Linda Volger, Ann Guardiola, Betsy Thayer, and joining us from Florida, Sarah Gold, and my husband over here is Doug Watkin. So we are members of the membership team, and it's our responsibility to help new members come into our community. This is the first of 2 new member welcome ceremonies we're holding this year. The next one will be in June. I'm just about to call the names of the new members who are going to come and stand in front of us, and we'll stay up here together as we welcome them. Could Katie Chaucer, Michael Chaucer, Miles Zarathustra, Susan Miners, Vince Connect, Daryl Liacano, Kathy Voigt Walsh, and we hope at some point Paul Donegan, again if you're watching from someplace else, Paul, will welcome you next June. Today we have these members, these new members. As you know, the final act of membership is simple. You added your name to our membership book. It is also an act of deep meaning. With membership comes rewards, some tangible and others more lofty. With membership comes responsibility, stewardship through your time, your talent, and your treasure. In choosing to join this congregation, you chose to journey on a path chosen by all of those before you since this congregation established itself in 1810. You add your name to those for over 500 years have found spiritual growth, deep meaning, and life-saving community in our religious tradition.
Will the congregation please rise in body or spirit to affirm your covenantal relationship with these new members, speaking in the affirmative after I ask a series of questions? Will you welcome these new members with open hearts and open minds? While honoring your roots, will you receive with gratitude the gifts these new members bring, including the changes to the congregation that they may bring? Will you share with them the responsibility to live into our mission, to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other and our community, seek truth, and act for justice? If so, will you please say, "We will"? We will. You may be seated. And now, to you, new members. Will you affirm your covenantal relationship with this congregation, speaking an affirmative at the end of my series of questions? Will you bring your open hearts and open minds to make your part of the whole greater than our sum? Will you find joy, make joy, spread joy, that we might build more resilient communities? Will you bring your lamentation, your grief, your despair, and outrage so that this congregation and the world might know the whole of your gifts? And will you share with the congregation the responsibility to live into our mission to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other and the community, seek truth, and act for justice? If so, please say, "We will." On behalf of the entire congregation, I say that we welcome you into membership with such joy. Let us all say, "Huzzah!" Huzzah! Okay, new members, kids, and Kim, you're staying up here, and Doug too, while you all sing a couple of verses. James is going to lead us of "This Little Light of Mine." 2 things are going to happen. You all are going to be presented with books, and Erica and I are going to help any kids who want to help bless these new members, who will offer either their foreheads or their hands with water. And each person also needs to get a rock from one of the undercover kindness agents. So for kids who want to help, please stand so we know who will help, and we can start singing as we do this.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. One more time. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
It's time for us to sing the children and the adults.
As you journey, may you know, love and hope go with you, learn and grow. Together with me, as you journey.
I have a very wise friend who says that each of us is like a kaleidoscope. You know, one of these tube-shaped things where you look up toward the light and turn and you get pretty patterns. They're filled with chips of glass. If I can have the tech team show that picture, please. There it is. That's what it's like. You put your eye at one end, and you look toward the light, and down at the end, there are a bunch of little colored chips of something. Well, I made one, and this is all that's in it. A couple pieces of cut plastic bag and some beads. May I have the second picture, please? There it is. The dime is not part of it, just to show scale. It doesn't take very much. It just takes little tiny bits that add up to much larger things. Traditionally, it's glass that's used, but as my friend says, we're like kaleidoscopes. Each piece of colored glass is a different and very important part of our character. What might some of those pieces be? Joy? Fear? Sincerity? Hope? Compassion? Love? Pain? Music. Now, say that you're in a tough place, facing new challenges, and old ways of being and doing don't work anymore. My wise friend says that when we face one of these growth opportunities, usually ones we don't want, ones that we gripe about or rail against or downright fear, that all we need to do is turn the kaleidoscope. And with this, our own personal kaleidoscope, we can see new patterns and possibilities. Each one of us is complete. Each one of us is whole. Each one of us is enough. Each one of us in our entirety is beautiful. And when you reach a tough spot in your life, and I reach a tough one in mine, just turn the kaleidoscope a bit and try a different combination of your amazing pieces that you already have. Perhaps you'll create a new, perhaps better combination of attributes, possibly even something beautiful.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us. Gloria,
When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna send the flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat of drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets in my skin. They'll fire away. Oh, that's the day. Oh, don't let the shame sink in.
This is me. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown 'em out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
1, 2.
Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies, this is me. This is me.
I don't know that you could see how many of the folks in the choir had tears in their eyes from the power of their voices joining with that song. Thank you for bringing your whole selves to that music. It's a command, enough. It's a hopeful incantation, enough. It's an expression of humility and gratitude, enough. It's a shuddering surrender in the face of the all too much, enough. It's an affirmation of your and my and our inherent worth and dignity. Enough. Facebook has this function, for those of you who aren't on it, that shows you posts and photos that you posted on the same day but in years past. I generally find it a delightful way to take a stroll down memory lane. And this week, a memory popped up of a photo on a lamppost on a New Jersey street at the end of January 2020. And it was a sticker from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and it stated in bold letters, "You are enough." And I had plans for this sermon long before that memory came, but I want to say that while this sermon is for all who hear it, whether you are here in the room or you're watching the live stream or you're watching the recording at some time in the future, this sermon is for those of us who have ever felt that rough edge that can lead to desperate action. And this sermon is for those of us who have been touched by someone who has lost their struggle to know that they are enough. I had planned to wear this button that I still have. It's from my collection from college when I used to wear a lot of jackets with a lot of buttons that either had irreverent messages or left-wing political messages. And most of those were explicit, clear in their messaging. But I had this one. It wasn't the typical round button. It's actually a rectangle. And it was ambiguous enough to apply all these decades later and every year in between. And it says just the one word, enough. Enough as a form of political resistance, an outraged sense of enough in the face of all that has been mercilessly taken from us, twisted and perverted by the profit motive of capitalism, taken from us by the cultural imperialism of ever more growth, taken from us by the victim blaming that comes at too high a price from the various systemic oppressions that have insinuated themselves in the warp and weave of our lives. And then enough as emotional resilience. The same enough in the message of the first sentence of the benediction I say to you every Sunday at the end of the service. May you know the blessing you already are. Full stop. No need to go further. And then there is a third kind of enough. In the new language for our new values in Unitarian Universalism, which are really not new values but repackaged from principles to values, the text that's in the newly proposed Article 2 language that we Unitarian Universalists will be voting on at General Assembly this June, there is this one phrase, in a lot of words, there's this one phrase, never complete and never perfect. And I experienced that phrase, never complete and never perfect, as a corrective and an antidote to the perfectionism and the ever onward bent that has become part of our Unitarian Universalist cultural heritage. And I appreciate that there is a shift happening, one that moves us away from perfectionism and one that questions whether progress is actually promised, which is definitely a better message than that Calvinist assertion of original sin, but it's still one that comes with its own pitfalls and delusions and privileges that often have a cost to others. This phrase, never complete and never perfect, a focus on the journey rather than the destination, and also a reminder of that essential aspect of Unitarian Universalism, our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. If we allow ourselves to make our way within enough, I believe we will find ourselves, we as individuals, we as a people, we as a society, in a more sustainable place in the interdependent web of all existence. I think accepting enough means that we forego the chase after perfectionism and whatever it allows of progress, and we get to name that progress with a different pace, a pace that's more appropriate to the natural worlds around us. Meaning that progress might, in fact, look like degrowth in our economics, might look like redistributing wealth, might look like mutual aid rather than me first or competition. This morning's anthem from the 2017 movie, The Greatest Showman, and it tells a great, if not wholly factual, story about P.T. Barnum, who happens to be one of our religious ancestors. He was a Universalist. It's the story, right, of claiming one's dignity in the face of a larger world that would have otherwise. Sung by the character Letty Lutz, Letty emerges as a leader among the misfits brought together as Barnum's Museum of Freaks, put on display, ridiculed by the public. You just heard these words from the chorus. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm going to send a flood, going to drown them out. I am brave. I am bruised. I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look at, yeah. Oh, good timing there. Thank you. Look out, because here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Letty is the quintessential bearded lady, which is, for the story in the movie and for reality, sufficient reason to be reviled by hyper-narrow patriarchal standards of beauty. Yet Letty also represents another vilified aspect of feminine form. She is fat. She is voluptuously fat. And worst of all, she is unapologetically fat. Letty, as bearded female fat liberationist, she comes to understand that just as she is not only enough, she and her fellow misfits are enough and glorious. She sings, "I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious." I wonder whether or not you have a beard when society tells you you shouldn't. I wonder whether or not your body is a shape that is held as ideal or is trampled upon as some degree of hideous. I wonder whether or not you see your wholeness reflected in stories told and retold in small or big screens published in high art or mainstream magazines. I wonder this: do you know in the deepest part of yourself that you are enough? That you are enough and glorious? And if you already know that you are enough, do you feel that pull, that longing to be a part of co-creating a world in which all the freaks and all the misfits are recognized as enough and glorious? Our Soul Matters theme this month is liberating love. And ultimately, that's the reason I chose this topic for this last Sunday of January. And because James said he thought maybe the choir could bring the song, and bring it they did. Thank you, choir, all of you dispersed out, for bringing magnificence and allowing us to sink in and soften in an embodied way, an engaging way to today's topic. Liberating love. It's part of our year-long exploration of the newly proposed Article 2 values that deepen our covenant with one another, that reshape the essence of what have been called principles and likely now will be called values. There are 7 of them: love, transformation, pluralism, generosity, equity, justice, interdependence. 7 values with love at the center. 7 values with love described in this following way. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. In the part of the movie where the song is sung, there are 3 audiences who respond to the freaks as they move out of fear and into fierce freedom. There are the rich elites who are disgusted to have to share space with the inconvenient upstarts. There is the working class rabble holding torches, responding with physical threats and verbal assaults. And during the final verse of the song, there is the admiring audience smiling and singing along, appreciating the misfits and the freaks for exactly who they are. I think it was the psychologist Carl Jung who introduced the concept that when we analyze dreams, every character in that dream represents an aspect of ourselves, of our subconscious. And I want to use that perspective and apply it to the 4 groups in the movie. Those polite ones, those outwardly aggressive ones, the admiring ones, and the freaks themselves. Because I believe they represent some part of me and some part of you and some part of all of us. I want to look at that movie and that story through that lens because I believe doing so grows within us emotional and spiritual resilience, which expands our capacity to be active and effective contributors to building beloved community. For there is some part of us that experiences a strong, often unconscious impulse towards othering those who are different from ourselves, even if it goes against our values. We can place that in the shadows, but it's good for us to recognize that. And there is some part of us that wants to politely and without causing a stir, use whatever social power we have to turn away from those who confront our sense of personal comfort. And there's some part of us that feels we are not enough, no matter the degree of privilege we hold, no matter how many self-help books we have read or TikTok videos we have watched or hours of therapy we have done. And there is some part of us that greatly admires and celebrates the real and authentic diversity of the human family. Yes, we have all four of those within us, contradictory and paradoxically, and thus we are both enough as we are, never complete and never perfect, and also moved to live a life of when we know better, we do better. Paraphrasing, as I am once again, Maya Angelou, as I did just a few weeks back. For there is something about experiencing one's enoughness that feels to me a lot like knowing one's worth is inherent and one's self has dignity. And there is something about honoring and even celebrating the enoughness of others that feels to me a lot like recognizing and affirming the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. And there is something about centering and prioritizing the enoughness of those who are systemically marginalized and demeaned, who are regularly considered less than, that feels to me a lot like moving towards beloved community. And while there is no single definition of enough or enoughness, as the meaning of this concept is super subjective and is highly dependent on one's social location, on one's story, one's personal story and one's ancestral story, I want to offer two that move me. And guided by our commitment to the eighth principle, I've gone looking for definitions of enoughness from sources that raise up the perspectives of women of color. And I share these voices believing they have something powerful to add to any conversation. And I share these voices knowing that their voice has a sense of authority that's located in their social location, located in their cultural identity. And because I do not share that identity, and many of us in the room don't share that identity, I bring their voices here with humility, with the goal of amplification rather than appropriation. Here are the words of Cole Arthur Riley from her second book, Black Liturgies, published just last week. She writes, "I don't know what dignity is, not cognitively, but I know what it feels like. To be loved, to receive honor, to be encountered as a human, not because of any demonstration or performance as such, but because in mystery, your very being is a miracle, a delicate stitch in the cosmos. Dignity will never depend on anyone's belief in it, certainly not your own. It is not born of writing, or even excellent writing, or excellent research, or beautiful architecture, or good parenting. It is inherent." And she finishes, "And yet the world has a choice to honor or to not honor. The toll this choice takes has a very real implications on our rights, our wealth, our justice, our children, and even our perceptions of dignity, but never dignity itself. Never dignity itself. In this month when our earth teacher is gravity, I want to share the second passage with you from community organizer, somatic healer, and author Adrienne Marie Brown from her book, Pleasure Activism, The Politics of Feeling Good. As I read it aloud, see if you can move from here to here, feel this version of enoughness. I also began to feel my true center, she writes, my center of gravity, the center of my being. It was a place inside myself that was as vast as the ocean, that gave me the resources I needed to feel all my feelings and still be in my dignity, to make mistakes and still be in my dignity, still be connected to other people, to stay open and present. I think as my talisman for this week, or maybe this whole year, I want to make that phrase my company, to make mistakes and still be in my dignity. That dignity, that enoughness exists outside of perfection, before and after perfection, under and over perfection. You choose your prepositions. Perfection is irrelevant. It brings to mind that phrase, never complete and never perfect, with the addition of affirming our inherent worth, our inherent dignity. So enough. 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 A command, an incantation, an expression of gratitude and humility, a surrender, a lamentation, a lullaby, a litany, an affirmation, and a covenant with one another. Amen. So be it. See to it.
Spiritual practices come in many forms within our Sunday service. Generosity, spoken meditation, stillness, music, creating space for our joys, for our sorrows, and for our gratitude. In this portion of our Sunday service, each of us will have the chance to enter into those communal practices to which we are drawn, to hold space, and to offer our loving witness for each other. As a justice-seeking spiritual community, our generosity practice includes sharing half of the offering each Sunday. Offerings this month will be shared with a fund established to support Hisham Arwatani, one of the young Palestinian men shot in Burlington on November 25th, leaving him paralyzed from the chest down. His family has established a GoFundMe that is intended to help cover the costs associated with his recovery, including the long and uncertain rehabilitation needs, costs of care, and adaptive living needs. And as his family writes, quote, providing Hisham what he needs to enable him to change the world for the good as we know he will. End quote. May the spirit of reflection,
of prayer, of meditation, however that flows through your body or mind, however you were taught and however you are moved. Surround this precious people, this holy house, this wide world. Let us bring into this circle of care the joy of celebrating that we are halfway through winter to spring. Let those who celebrate in bulk be joyful. And if anyone with such powers is listening, let there be more snow before spring comes. We hold in our circle of care a beloved 10-year-old granddaughter whose heart is breaking as her best friend is dying from leukemia. We hold both girls and their families fiercely as they go through all that pain. May those efforts to bring not only peace and a cessation of violence to Israel-Palestine, but also a justice that heals and lasts, find ever more fertile ground. May those whose loved ones have been stolen from them, either through killing or kidnapping, know a sense of purpose that honors those gone and helps create a future with dignity. May there be comfort and company to those who experience the loss of a loved one, those who feel disconnection or feel unseen by those around them, for those struggling with addiction, those struggling with anxiety, those experiencing the pain of estrangement. May we all, no matter our place or story, no matter our income or resources, no matter our accomplishments or embarrassments, experience delight, at least in some small measure, each and every day. And let us spend the next few moments in shared stillness, connecting with the deep yearning within our own hearts until the chime rings again. Amen.
When the music plays in just a moment, we invite you to come forward to silently mark a joy, a sorrow, or gratitude in your life by moving a stone from one of the baskets onto the table, creating a representation of our shared lives at this moment. As you are moved, please come forward along the outer aisles and return to your seat via the central aisle. If you have a gift to add to the offering, you can place it in one of the baskets at the ends of the outer aisles, or you can make your offering online. If you are at home or you want to remain seated, we invite you to lean into the music as an opportunity for stillness and centering as it makes sense to you. Please join with me for our dedication of our offering. With gratitude, we dedicate these gifts in the service of our mission to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other and our community, seek truth, and act for justice.
I'd like to invite you to stand in body or spirit as we sing together our closing hymn. You'll find it in our teal hymnal there in the pew. We'll also have the words up on the overhead. It is hymn number 1008, 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, when we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. Thank you. Please be seated.
Please join in the extinguishing words for our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again.
May you know the blessing you already are. Full stop. And may you know the blessing you yet can be. And may we all go out and be blessings in the world.